I have still a few goals in my life. And one of them is to become known as the lazy gardener. Not that I'm lazy, but that my methods are lazy. And it may be that it's more labor intensive up front, but I'm willing to do that work up front if I know it's going to save me hours and backbreaking work later. I'll do the backbreaking work now. And a one-time thing, I'm fine with. But having to come back like every year, having to redo these beds every year, the thought of it drained me. This year, half of them I did the no-till method. I just top dressed it, or some people call it lasagna method, and I kind of did a modified lasagna. So half of them I just had my son pile on horse manure, and some of it wasn't even composted well. And I've heard on other videos where people talk about horse manure will burn a plant, and from my experience, they are wrong. I don't know what kind of horse manure they were using or what else was in there, but it is not. It's not so nitrogen rich that it's going to destroy a plant. And everything I put in there has done really well. Now, the beds I did redo, a lot of them, what I did was take the dirt out and put horse manure below and put the dirt somewhat cleaned up, took the roots and weeds and stuff out, and put it right back on top of the horse manure, and I'm growing stuff. That's like the lettuce and the onion bed and the onion and lamb's quarter. That's what I did. And the herb beds, I couldn't do that as much because both beds had some herbs that were already established. And that's another part of being a lazy gardener. Get plants that come back every year. And if I have to, just like with the strawberry beds, which I never had good luck with before because I think I overdid my attention and tried to do things and make them work better when they just needed to be left alone. I'm keeping that little PVC contraption over it so I can put either bird netting if I do have that problem, but with kitty around it's not been an issue. It's fire ants that I need to deal with. Or during the winter I plan on putting a plastic cover so it's a little miniature greenhouse into itself. So all these beds I can do that with. I can just put PVC over them and then do a little greenhouse so that they will overwinter easier. Or I can put a lot of straw over them. I mean, the parsley, oregano, sage, rosemary, and even the stevia came back without me doing anything for 2 years almost. I did nothing. Fall of 2010, I walked away from the garden. I had a lot of stuff going on and my health, and I was just amazed to come back and find things doing well. The horseradish does great, and the Brussels sprouts. I had Brussels sprouts that lived for over 2 years in the garden. They weren't producing by the second year very well, but they were producing. So I need to find what grows in my area and check out One Straw Revolution, a Japanese man, and how he developed an easier way and better way. Ruth Stout, how she got tired of waiting for the plowman to show up and grew potatoes and straw. And look up no-till and lasagna gardening. And those will get you started. And then there's several channels of permaculture. You'll find lots of information under permaculture, self-sustainability, and Sustenance and Covering has a video on planting what wants to grow there. I can't remember the exact title. I'll put a link. I'll put all the links I can find for all this stuff and in the description. So there's ways to do the gardening to where it's not eating up. You know, you have to give up your full-time job in order to have a garden that's going to sustain your whole family. It shouldn't be that way. It's not. Across the road they grow GMO cotton and corn or soy. They switch the corn and soy around. And in the fields now there's Roundup resistant amaranth and lamb's quarter that they have to hire people. They started last year hiring people to go through the field and pulling them up because Roundup doesn't do anything to them. The sad thing is The things that they're pulling up is actually better for us than the stuff that they're growing and feeding us with, or feeding animals with, that we in turn eat. And if you understand our food system, you'd garden, even if it's just one plant. I highly encourage you. Tomatoes, they can be grown indoors. They don't need bees to pollinate. They're self-pollinators. So there's all sorts of things you can grow inside. If you don't, if you can be in an apartment, as long as you got a decent window or have a light, you can do this. And I highly encourage it. I don't care if you buy an organic. If you buy the best organic tomato out there and compare it to a tomato you grew, it is just no comparison. Even if you didn't grow yours organically, even if you grew it in Miracle-Gro and all sorts of chemicals, the flavor of something just produced and just taken off the vine, it is so much better than anything you can buy, no matter how fresh that produce is and how well it was grown. They're just such a noticeable difference. So I encourage you to do that, and don't let, oh, it's too hard, I don't have space, become an issue. It's worth it. It's really worth it. I think anything worth having usually isn't done easily. And a garden, I'm not going to tell you this is easy. There was a lot of work I put into making these beds, filling the beds. The first bed we did do it the square method, square foot gardening method, and the stuff we put in it alone cost me over $60 before I quit tabulating it and said, I can't do that with all the beds. This is ridiculous. I can't do that. And we didn't have horses then. My daughter didn't have horses. And so we found a different way. In my previous videos, you'll see a truckload of compost being delivered, and that wasn't exactly the best thing either. And I wasn't making compost tea, and it's all a learning process. So no matter how many videos you watch and how many books you watch, until you actually get your hands dirty, you're not going to learn. You're not going to know. And experience it. There's so much you can do. Everything technically correct and not produce this. It's like watching someone teach how to paint. And you can watch every video online on how to paint with oils. Until you actually get those oils and start painting yourself and training your body to it, it's not the same. You can have all that head knowledge, and it's part art. Gardening is part art. And it's amazing how some people can get away with and grow incredible plants while this other person is technically doing everything and failing. And that's where the art aspect falls in, and say, we can't, when we're not supposed to do everything the same way. I'm showing you how I'm doing it, but that doesn't mean that's the way you have to do it. You take it in and go, okay, that's going to work. That's not going to work for me. I don't want to try it that way. I'm going to do it this way. And a lot of times, not knowing any better, I've watched people succeed at things because they didn't know any better than to do it the way they did it. And it's like, oh wow, that's great. And don't be scared of failure. You're going to have failure. Even if you've been gardening for 20 plus years, you're still going to have failures. Things are going to happen. And your crop won't, you won't get the harvest. But in this garden, there's such a variety of things. I'm going to get a harvest from something. And my goal is that I will be able to come out here all year round and get something edible from it all year round. That's my goal. That's and Lord willing, that will be a goal I will attain. Anyway, I hope to be known as the lazy gardener.